Hello, my name is Kyle Steele. I'm running for Norman City Council Ward 6 for this upcoming election cycle, and this is a summary for the Norman City Council study session that occurred on November 18th, 2025. As usual, the agenda for this meeting will be linked below, and it was a 91-minute meeting, so I would highly advise you to make use of those links if you want to see any specific parts of the meeting from this summary. This meeting was all about capital projects. So what is a capital project? That's what was covered in the first part of this study session. Essentially, it's something that costs more than 100K, usually, not always, but for the most part more than 100K, and it's the maintenance, replacement, expansion rather of an asset around Norman. So think of bridges, roads, art projects, things like that. Usually they'll have a lifespan of over 5 years, and often they'll take more than 1 year to complete. So, you might have design in the first year and then construction in the second year, just as a real basic example. City staff is the one who does research into these capital projects and makes recommendations for which ones that they think should go forward. However, City Council can change the priority of that list based off of, well, any reasons, but in an ideal world, because, they're hearing from their constituents about certain projects in their ward that need to be higher on the list than what city staff is recommending. As far as the status of the capital funds accounts, it's a bit interesting. If you look at the slides that are going to be provided below, you will see that the accounts are technically in the positive. However, for fiscal years 2025 through 2029, it is a negative in terms of the amount available to be spent. This is because that while there are funds in the account, technically, those funds have already been allocated and spoken for. Now, that being said, over the next couple of years, this balance is going to trend back towards the positive direction, and by fiscal year 2029, it is expected to be back in the positive in terms of money that can be spent as well. Now, this could happen sooner, like in fiscal year 2028, for example, if the current projects rather don't use all their funds, which does happen sometimes. So it could happen, but right now, if the projections hold true, 2029, that account will be positive again, and there will be free money to be unallocated is a better term, unallocated money to be used for other capital projects around the city. Now, going back to the current fiscal year, the amount that the city spent is about $12.6 million on recurring projects, and it's just kind of a whole list of projects, which again will be linked in down below in the slides. Specifically for Ward 6, since I am running for Ward 6 on the City Council, there was a bridge bond maintenance program, and there were two kind of tiny little bridges in Ward 6 that are on the priority to be replaced. One is on Porter between Tecumseh and Franklin, and then there's one that's just barely noticeable, but it does qualify as a bridge, that is just south of Rock Creek and 24th. Also, I'm going to give a special shout out right now to the absentee Shawnee tribe, which awarded a $13.8 million in a construction grant to the city for the Porter Avenue project. So thank you, absentee Shawnee tribe, for that. Now, what was also discussed is projects related to the Public Safety Sales Tax Fund as well as the Norman Forward Sales Tax Fund. It looks like the priority for the public safety sales tax funding is going to be on updating existing fire stations and police stations rather than building new ones. And the main reason for that just comes down to staffing, right? If you build a new fire station, for example, even if it might be needed, you may not have the staff lined up to man that station effectively right off the bat. Whereas if you are updating an existing fire station, that increases its effectiveness. It still does something for the surrounding area, but you may not need to hire more staffing. So essentially, you're increasing the efficiency of a current fire station, getting it up to the modern age, as opposed to just building a whole new fire station. Now, that being said, they are exploring locations for new fire stations, specifically one called Fire Station number 5. They've currently found land that they think it would be good to be suitable on. However, that land is currently owned by the state, so they're going to have to research that land a little bit more and talk with the state to work out some kind of agreement. And most likely, if there is a bond proposal for a new fire station in April that I've talked about in the past, plans for that fire station will be on that. They're going to really put their foot to the pedal to the metal to try and get the specifics of this new fire station on that land so it can go to a public safety bond vote by April. Now, what was also mentioned in here, just kind of as an aside, is it mentioned that the city did purchase some of the land on Griffin memorial property in that area for $3.3 million, and there is going to be a future discussion as to what that area will look like in terms of zoning, development, things like that. Another TIF on the horizon, so keep that in mind. Now, the final section of this meeting was kind of devoted to upcoming challenges and impacts, in the current years that might affect this funding level. Again, there's quite a bit to list off here, so I would just refer you to the slides or the last kind of little section of the meeting and the timestamp down below. But as far as the hot topic issues, they did mention the Rock Creek Entertainment District and the OTA turnpikes. May cause some impacting depending on how those turn out, both the legal challenges as well as the potential alignments, as well as the Central Library lawsuit that's going on and what ultimately they want to do with the Griffin Hospital campus project that's coming up. Now, that was it for this meeting. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns for me as far as my campaign or just about me in general, please don't hesitate to email me at KyleForNorman@gmail.com. Thank you and have a good day.